Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video on the Gooners and Gloves Podcast channel. In today's video, it's going to be the 69th Gooners and Gloves Podcast, and I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts and predictions for the Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero fight. This is scheduled to take place tonight, so I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really good fight. So in today's video, as usual, I'm going to go over the records, I'm going to go over the styles, and I'm going to just talk about who I think is going to win, how I think the fight's going to go. I'm really looking forward to covering this one. I think this is a really exciting fight. Obviously, both men going up to welterweight. Obviously, this is new territory for both of them. Garcia's only been up to welterweight a couple of times, and Rolly Romero has only ventured there, I think, once. And also, they're both at their career heaviest weights. So certainly a new venture for both men. But I think this is going to be an exciting fight. Obviously, the build-up has been very heated. Obviously, we know these two have always had a heated rivalry. There have been multiple sparring clips, which have been released in which, they were very heated with each other. So it's just a very exciting fight. I think it'll be really entertaining. Obviously, there's a big clash of styles here, and end of the day, styles make fights. And I think that this is just such a huge clash of styles and will therefore provide a lot of entertainment in this fight. So pretty much I'm going to go over my prediction, how I think the fight's going to go, who I think is going to win, and essentially just an overview of how I think the fight's going to go and who I think will have their hand raised as the victor. So pretty much let's first just get into their record. So Ryan Garcia's record currently sits at 24-1 with 20 knockouts. The only loss of course came to Gervonta Davis, and so certainly no shame in losing to Davis. In fact, Rolly Romero also lost to him. They were both knocked out by him, but again, there's certainly no shame in that at all. He's one of the best fighters in the world, so no shame there. He does also have a no contest to his name as well. After his fight with Devin Haney was changed to a no contest after Ryan Garcia tested positive, so there is also that. But currently we got 24 wins, 1 loss and 20 knockouts, so a very good record. He's got some decent names on there for sure, and obviously he's got huge knockout power, as we can see from the knockout percentage. And then we've got Rolly Romero, who is 16-2 with 13 knockouts, so obviously Rolly also has very huge power as well. As mentioned before, they did have a common opponent in the form of Gervonta Davis, both of which they lost to. So yeah, pretty much my prediction for this fight is Ryan Garcia by knockout/technical knockout. I'm just going to refer to it as stoppage, but basically I think that Ryan Garcia gets this win within the distance and he stops Rolly Romero. That's what I think is going to happen. So I think Ryan Garcia wins by knockout/technical knockout or just stoppage. So pretty much I'm going to go on and get into why I think this. So I think the start of the fight is actually going to be probably more Rolly Romero. In my opinion, the first few rounds are actually going to be Romero, just because I expect Rolly Romero to come out full guns blazing, full steam ahead. Obviously we know that Rolly Romero has a very aggressive, very explosive style, and it's something that has definitely caused fighters problems. Even Ryan Garcia, it did cause him some problems in sparring. So we know that he can cause Ryan problems, and I do think for the first few rounds he's going to kind of just be all over him, putting on the pressure, putting on just kind of that, making it into more of a dogfight, if you get what I mean. It's clear that Ryan Garcia has the more technical boxing. I don't think there's too much doubt about that. At least, let me know if you disagree, but I would argue that definitely the more technical boxer is Ryan Garcia, whereas Rolly Romero is more like the fighter, the kind of just sheer heart, sheer will, and basically just making it into a dogfight. And that's what I expect Rolly to do for the first few rounds. I think he's going to put loads of pressure, 100 miles an hour, and just make it into a raw dogfight. I think he's going to be getting inside, really throwing heavy shots, and ultimately just brawling with Ryan Garcia. And I think for the first few rounds, it probably, I think it will unsettle Garcia a bit. I think it will be tough for him at first. So that's why, in my opinion, I do think that the early rounds will actually be Rolly Romero's. And this is why I do believe that Ryan Garcia needs to survive the early storm of Rolly. I think that's going to be very key for Ryan Garcia, is to survive the early pressure and the early storm of Rolly Romero, because he's going to be coming out 100 miles an hour. We remember against Tank Davis, he was very fast, he was very quick, and there were points where he was given, obviously, Gervonta Davis some problems. Absolutely, there were some points where Rolly Romero was making it into a brawl, making it into a dogfight, and that definitely caused some problems to Gervonta Davis. Even against Isaac Cruz, which is the other man that Rolly Romero lost to, even against him, he made it a brawl, he made it a fight, and I just think that's something that Rolly is very good at, is making fights into brawls and ultimately just unsettling his opponent. So I think at first, the first few rounds are probably going to go to Rolly while he just puts on the pressure, whereas Ryan, I expect to start a little bit slower, find his feet, find his rhythm. Obviously, we know that Ryan Garcia tends to be a bit of a slower starter. He tends to kind of just read his opponent's rhythm for the first few rounds and kind of work his way into the fight. So for that reason, I do think sort of the first 3 to 4 rounds will probably end up being Rolly Romero, just purely on activity. If I'm honest, I still think that Ryan Garcia is probably going to land at a higher percentage in these rounds, but I just think because of the aggression and because of the speed and, the full guns blazing style that I'm expecting from Romero in this fight, I do expect that for the first few rounds it probably will be Romero. But I think from the halfway stage of the fight onwards is when Ryan Garcia will take control, and I think this is when he's gonna start to be able to pick him apart with combinations. By this point, I think Romero will start to get tired, obviously, because you can't keep that pace up, and we've seen that Romero, he's not got a bad gas tank, but he hasn't got like the best gas tank, if you get what I mean. He definitely does get tired, and understandably his style does cause him to get tired. So I think from the mid stage onwards, not only will Rolly get tired, but I think Ryan will also have found his rhythm by this point. I think by this point he would have had enough data, he would have calculated all the data, he would have seen exactly how Rolly moves, and therefore will start to land the combinations. Obviously, we know Ryan is a fantastic combination puncher, and to be fair, Ryan can be very explosive as well. We've seen it we've definitely seen it in his fights. He can be a very explosive puncher as well, and I do think that once he sees that Rolly Romero is getting a bit more tired, and once Ryan starts to find his stride, starts to get the combinations working, and also is keeping him at distance, I think this is when Ryan's going to start to cut the ring off, use his size, because remember, Ryan is the bigger man. He's got the longer reach, he's taller, he's bigger, he's heavier. So I do think that once Rolly starts to get tired, Ryan will really begin to impose himself on the fight. I think he's going to cut the ring off, throw the combinations, get the body work going to tire Rolly out. Obviously, we know that Ryan has great body shots. So at this point in the mid stage onwards, I think this is when Ryan's going to start to pick him apart, going to start to use the jab, going to start to keep him on the outside, and ultimately just essentially hit and not get hit. And that's probably going to be the mid stages. So I think sort of from about round 6 to 8, I think this is when Ryan's going to take control of the fight, get back his rounds, cut the ring off, land the combinations, tire, out hustle Rolly Romero, and eventually get him to the point of just, being really tired. And then I think rounds 9 to 12 is when Ryan Garcia does get the stoppage. I think by this point, Ryan Garcia will have completely imposed himself. I think Rolly will be completely spent. And I think that from this point onwards, rounds 9 to 12 is when Ryan's going to be able to completely just break Rolly Romero down. And I do think he will get the stoppage sometime between rounds 9 and 12. That's my prediction. I think late on in the fight, I don't think this will be an early stoppage just because Romero is very durable. So for that reason, I do think that Ryan will kind of get dragged into deep waters at points. But that being said, I do think that Ryan Garcia will be able to get the stoppage sort of in the rounds 9 to 12. I think the first sort of 3 to 4 rounds will be Romero's rounds because he puts the pressure on and will really, really make this a difficult fight for Ryan. Then I think from about round 5 onwards is when Rolly starts to get more tired. Ryan starts to find his groove, starts to get the jab going, the combinations, cuts the ring off, uses his size. And I think through using his size, combinations, height, weight, reach, and ultimately just superior boxing skills, I think that's when from rounds 5 to about sort of 9 to 12 is when Ryan completely takes control, ends up dominating the fight and ultimately gets the stoppage. So that's what I think is going to happen. I think Romero's going to, gas himself out. I think he's going to get tired. And I think that Ryan Garcia, using his superior boxing, his size, his weight, and ultimately just his better technical boxing skills, will be able to pick Romero apart, get the combinations working, land loads of punches, and eventually tire Romero out to the point of then overwhelming him. I think overwhelming him is going to be a big thing that Ryan's going to try and do. Obviously, we know that Ryan Garcia is very good at overwhelming his opponents. He's very good at landing fast punches, aggressive combinations, and he does have some of the fastest hands in boxing, and obviously that can help to tire out opponents. And to be fair, even Gervonta Davis, I'd say, did the same thing. He was able to kind of out hustle and eventually overwhelm Rolly Romero, and I think this is what Ryan Garcia is going to do. So yeah, it's been a little while since I've predicted a knockout or a technical knockout, and to be fair, I don't do it too often, but I do think in this case it's going to be Ryan Garcia by knockout or technical knockout. As I said before, I don't predict KOs, TKOs often. I'm definitely someone who, definitely more often than not tends to predict points. However, I think in this case, Ryan Garcia has the tools to be able to stop Rolly Romero, and I think that Ryan Garcia is probably going to be aiming for the stoppage. But that being said, Romero is a tough fighter, don't get me wrong. Romero is very durable, he's very tough, he knows how to survive. So for that reason, I think this is going to be a late stoppage between rounds 9 and 12. But I think once Romero tires himself out and Garcia starts to get his combinations going, I think that's when Ryan will be able to overwhelm him using his reach, his height, his weight, cutting off the ring. I think this is when he'll be able to overwhelm Rolly and eventually stop him between rounds 9 and 12. So yeah, should be an entertaining fight. Really looking forward to this one. Please let me know down below who you think is going to win. Does anybody fancy the Romero upset? He's obviously a massive underdog, but please let me know if anybody fancies the upset, because at the end of the day, this is boxing and you never know. But for me personally, I just can't see the upset happening. I think Garcia's got this, and for that reason, I have gone with Garcia by knockout or technical knockout. I think he'll be able to stop him, and I think the stoppage will come between rounds 9 and 12. It'll be a very hard fought stoppage, but I think he will eventually get the stoppage between rounds 9 and 12. So that's kind of all I had to say. So the main thing I think is going to happen is that Romero will kind of spend all of his energy in the first half of the fight. Ryan will be able to survive it, and then Ryan will be able to have read his tempo and therefore start to throw the combination punches, cut the ring off, throw the explosive punches, throw the fast combinations, and eventually overwhelm Rolly Romero and stop him between rounds 9 and 12. So that's what I think is going to happen. But alas, it should be a great fight. I'm looking forward to this one. They're obviously both pretty solid and have both had their history over the years and have certainly got beef. So I think it's going to be a great fight, going to be really entertaining. So yeah, please let me know down below who you think is going to win. I think it's going to be entertaining. I think it's going to be exciting. So please let me know down below who you think is going to win and how. Do you guys disagree with me? Do you think that it's a points fight? Do you think, and again, do any of you fancy the upset with Rolly Romero? I'd love to hear it all. But that's going to do it. I've not really got too much else to say about the fight. I think that's how it's going to go across the 12 rounds. I think it will be a stoppage from Ryan Garcia between rounds 9 and 12. Please look forward tomorrow to when I upload my Canelo versus Skull prediction tomorrow morning. I'm looking forward to uploading that. So literally tomorrow morning, nice and early, I'll be uploading the Canelo versus Skull prediction. So do look forward to that. But tonight on the Friday, I wanted to get out this video, Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero prediction. So I've managed to, this video is going to be up at about 7:30 p.m. UK time, and the fight is going to be at about 4 a.m. UK time. So, I wanted to take this opportunity to get the video out and to really, be able to give my prediction before the fight. So that's going to do it from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for all the support recently. As always, it really, really is much appreciated. Look forward tomorrow to when I upload my Canelo Alvarez versus William Skull prediction video tomorrow morning. So look forward to that. And without further ado, I'll catch you guys on another podcast soon. Bye-bye.